€1 a head, Bob.
I'm Peter Tooley from Dublin Renters Union, one of the groups involved in the occupation of 35 Summerhill Parade. The occupation, we took back a house back on Tuesday of last week. Basically, a group of activists decided sort of enough was enough of the housing crisis. This place in particular is one of the areas of Dublin which is actually worst affected by the housing crisis, and these houses were owned by a slum landlord who had up to 120 Brazilians in 5 properties. He was extracting massive rents from them, up to over about €450 per month for each one. There was 6 to 8 people living in each room. There was up to 30 to 40 in each house. So it was just absolutely disgraceful what he was doing. There's over 35,000 vacant houses in Dublin, and as I said, there's 20,000 people, households nearly on the social housing list. So the housing crisis isn't an accident, it's something that's actually due to the government deliberate government policies that has left to this. So hopefully get down and support us, obviously, in terms of what we're trying to do. Guards came down on Tuesday, basically, and we're tried to say we were trespassing in the property. The activists were trespassing the property, and we explained that it was a civil matter. We explained that it was a vacant house. We explained there was over 10,000 people nearly in emergency accommodation in Ireland. Since Fine Gael have come to power, it's gone up over 150%. There was children sleeping in the guard station in Tala during the week, so we explained all that to them, and they've backed away, and there's been no sort of response, obviously, from the owner of the property since as well. We've got great support. You probably saw the crowd as well today, going to the match today. We're big time in support of us. A lot of people have come down and support us, so I think if people wanted to help out, get involved with the Summerhill Occupation Facebook page. There's loads of details on it if people want to get involved with this. We're part of National Homeless Coalition as well, which is actually moving towards change, and October the 3rd we're doing a big march to the Dáil, which is looking for ending evictions. We're looking for obviously public housing to be built as well as part of that as well, and obviously proper security for renters.
My name is Alex Homitz. I'm a member of the Connolly Youth Movement. I am here to show solidarity to the Summerhill Occupation. I'm part of a group of people who have been occupying another building in Cork City. We've dubbed it Connolly Barracks. We've been there for a year and a month now, much under the same idea as Summerhill. We're trying to make a point about the housing crisis, to draw attention to the housing emergency, and to draw attention to the solution, which is public housing.
The O'Donnells brought Aldborough House, a derelict Georgian mansion, in 2016 and have recently got approval to develop the site into office spaces. No consideration was given for the local community and their needs in this plan. There have been push from the owners to create slum conditions in the area as a means to run housing prices down and buy up bargain properties to redevelop. After all, the workers in the O'Donnells' new plush office spaces are going to need equally plush places to live. It's a fine example of gentrification in action. Since the evictions in May, these properties have sat empty while the housing crisis worsens. Housing and community activists today have occupied, on Tuesday even, have occupied the property of Summerhill Parade because enough is enough. Pat O'Donnell should not be allowed to sit on these potential homes. Rent hikes, evictions, poor housing conditions, people stuck in overcrowded homes, living bunk beds, or packed into their relatives' homes, people couch surfing, sleeping rough, living in hostels, hotels and direct provision. We hear about these horrendous situations every day now. We all know somebody who is affected, and yet those in power sit on their hands. There is no political will to make real, meaningful change to our housing crisis. Our immediate demand is that the houses owned by Pat O'Donnell on Summerhill Parade be compulsory purchased by the Dublin City Council and given to the local community. We want to highlight that private vacant properties can and should be put into public ownership. All vacant land and properties should be put under public ownership. We call for people to take action and get involved in the housing movement, a wider demand of houses for all. Those interested in setting up similar occupations, please get in touch. The housing crisis is not a natural disaster. We do not need to accept this as simply the way it is. But things won't get better on their own. Action is needed by people and for people. Support the occupation!
And there are, as I said, there's 35,000 vacant houses in Dublin. A lot of them been idle for many, many years and could provide lovely homes for people. And it can't get away from the fact that housing is a human right. Housing should be having a roof over our head, and an affordable, linked to your income roof should be something that should be there provided by the state. But it's been, as I said, it's been deliberate policies by the government that has run down public housing, doesn't invest in public housing, and they let vulture funds and corporate landlords like Kennedy Wilson, Iris Ray, these massive companies don't pay any tax on rental income, and they charge massive rents and forcing people from their areas. So I think the thing is, we can build big campaigns if people come together with local community groups and local activists to force the bigger social political change we want.
We staged an occupation of 2 premises which were owned by a vulture fund. This vulture fund had evicted the previous residents, and it was just sitting on these empty properties in the city centre with absolutely no purpose being applied to them. We took over the properties, we renovated them internally, and we used them to house activists so that they could engage in their work. This project was a success until it was met with an armed response by the Garda, who showed up and with a battering ram threatened to throw down the door. Ultimately we had to abandon the squat, but we think the campaign was a success because it did raise a conversation both locally and nationally about homelessness and about public housing and alternative solutions to the crisis than the ones being proposed.
After living for a year in Connolly Barracks, I've decided I will never pay extortionate rent ever again, and encourage everybody else to have the same idea.
People should be allowed to live in their communities at an affordable rate, a rate that links to their incomes, not being screwed and being thrown to the four winds. As we can see the devastating human consequences of what's going on, like due to government policies. And it's not a mistake, it's not an accident, it's part of the deliberate policies that they're doing, is facilitating these landlords. There's no punishments on landlords for doing these types of actions, but again, tenants have no real rights like in this regard. Like, it's just totally horrific.